Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Today, we're going big with the Taurus M44. Before we get into that, I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon. Your contributions help more than you know. And if you join my Patreon at the $1 level or higher between now and 31 December 2023, you will be eligible for a drawing, courtesy of Rain City Shooting Center, for a Hi-Point YC9 Yeet Cannon, which will be delivered in accordance with all state, federal, and local laws to an FFL near you, should you win. I'd also like to thank channel benefactors, like the lovely fellow who asked me to have a look at this and do a video. So, thank you all very much. A lot of people have been very helpful to the channel, and I appreciate you all. So, the Taurus Model 44, imaginatively named, is their full-frame, full-size 44 Magnum that is not the Raging Hunter. And while it's almost as big and heavy as the Raging Hunter, it lacks some of that gun's features, like no Picatinny rail up here, no second lock here, and things like that. And essentially this is the equivalent of an end-frame Smith & Wesson, but maybe a little beefier. So, Taurus, of course, has been making revolvers for a very long time, and their reputation in that regard has not always been sterling. Currently, their Raging Hunter is very well regarded, as is their model, well, whatever succeeded the Model 85, the 685. Their Model 85 was consistently solid for many years. That was their J-frame equivalent. Now, I had a large frame 357 Magnum 8-shooter, based on the same frame as this, that experienced a mysterious parts breakage of the transfer bar. I don't even know how that happens. But I was easily able to order a new one and just get it sent to me pretty quickly and easily installed. I did that because dealing with Taurus's customer service is sometimes fraught with difficulties. It is what it is. For the most part, their guns are solid and pretty reliable, especially their revolvers and their new line of G-series semi-automatic pistols. Anyway, enough about Taurus. Let's have a look at this beast on the tabletop. Okay, when I said the Taurus Model 44 is a big boy, I was not kidding. This example, with its 6.5-inch barrel, is 12.25 inches long and 6 inches high. Operates in standard Smith & Wesson fashion. Push this forward, pop the cylinder out. Although in this case, the detent on the crane is here instead of at the end of the ejector rod like it would be with the Smith & Wesson. The gun comes with a 6.5-inch barrel, which isn't really 6.5 inches because this is not just ported, there is an actual expansion chamber milled into the inside of the barrel, so this is compensated, which does help fight muzzle rise. It has fully adjustable sights, prominent front sight with a red insert, paint, something. It's orange red. And the sight picture is quite good, with a sharp serrated back and red front sight. Very easy to pick up, very good to get and hold a good sight picture. Lockup is acceptable, but not stellar. That's kind of the byword for the whole pistol. It's acceptable, but not stellar. The trigger pull, for example, is, it has some distinctly mechanical elements in the feel. It is not perfectly smooth. And according to the handy-dandy Lyman trigger gauge, it breaks at 10.5 pounds, which is fairly heavy. Single action is nice and crisp, very easy to manage. Breaks at about 5 pounds, which is kind of heavy for a single action on a double action revolver. But there is this nice checkered pad, very good very easy to use. And overall, it is a good, serviceable revolver, but it is kind of obvious in places that it's built to a price. Now, at 52 ounces unloaded, this is not a flyweight or lightweight revolver by any means. But when you're shooting full power 44 Magnums, that weight isn't really a bad thing. So it does have a full square butt grip frame underneath here, and rather than the Tracker series, which just has the little tang type with the grips that fit over it. And comfortable enough in the hand, but recoil, this narrow back of the grip tends to focus the recoil a bit here, making it less pleasant to shoot than it really ought to be. There's a little bit of give in the back of the grips, but it's not up here enough to offset that very narrow profile digging into the web of your hand. It has, of course, the Taurus key lock, the safety system, which basically is just a screw that locks the hammer from moving. And while these come with a key, I've never used that feature. So there's really not much to it. It's a pretty simple gun. You know, you do have the attractive vent rib. The finish is utilitarian, but it's even and attractive. And you know, it has what you're going to want in a 44 Magnum hunting revolver. It's got the heavy underlug under the barrel to help tame recoil. The porting does not hurt. At even effectively 5.5 inches of barrel, that's quite adequate. So, yeah. You know, it's not a Colt or Smith & Wesson, but you're not paying 2 to 4 times as much for it either. And I think for what it is, I think it's all right. So, shooting the Model 44, the weight under the barrel, while it does detract from its portability slightly, does help moderate the recoil impulse and the muzzle flip, as does the compensator. However, the very thin grip across the back strap helps to focus that recoil very effectively in a way that is not entirely comfortable. It's by no means bad, but it could be a lot better. And essentially, what we're looking at here is a basic serviceable hunting handgun with a 6.5-inch barrel with careful load selection. You could take pretty much any game in North America with it. And for the going price, which new they can frequently be found, as I mentioned, for about $600. Used, they run anywhere from $450 to $550, and seems worth it to me. And I did enjoy shooting it. I always like shooting a 44 Magnum. I'm such a masochist. Yeah. So the only issue is Taurus's sometimes spotty reputation for quality control. This one seems fine. Most of the Taurus revolvers I've had seemed fine, except for the aforementioned one on the 357 on this frame that broke apart, that isn't under stress particularly, which was weird. But, you know, excrement occurs, and it wasn't difficult to source the part and repair it. So, anyway, nice gun. I'm grateful that I got to shoot it, and kind of like it. I'm going to see if I can clean up the trigger a bit for him. 10 pounds seems a bit excessive. Now, one thing about these Taurus revolvers, I don't want to get into the internals overly much here. It does have a coil mainspring, and if you're going to work on the trigger on these, don't touch it. Do not put in a wolf spring. Do not cut coils off it. Don't touch the mainspring, because you will get light primer strikes. This has just been my experience. There is room to lighten it up in the trigger return spring, which is very robust, and it can lose a couple coils without really hurting anything. And of course, these guns being somewhat built to a price, there's plenty of room for smoothing things up. So we'll see what I can do with this and maybe make it a little more pleasant for our friend that allowed me to present it to you. Anyway, if you like the video, please hit like. And if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. So I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.